everyone. Welcome to another action-packed edition of ARG Presents. I'm your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who's funny, but not ha-ha funny, the Brent.
That's very true. I can't deny that.
Yeah, you got that right. He ain't funny at all, let me tell you. So, the Brent.
Oh, wait a minute.
What's been going on? Hey, that's what Bo told me.
Funny.
That's what Bo told me during the barrel. He said, that guy, Brent, dead weight.
Well, I mean, I am weighty.
That's true. So,
but I'm very much alive right now.
That's
Give me a few
that's
years.
your opinion. So, Brent, how's it going this week, my friend? You?
I am well. How about yourself?
I'm fine. What was dramatic pause? Would you expect something else to come out? This is all I've got. You just roll with it, my friend. So
I was waiting for you to get good. It just never happened.
Well, keep waiting.
Aaron, before the show starts today, I got a few things to talk about.
All right. Did the show start?
Well, I mean, this is what we call a beginning.
Yeah.
Quick update on the drive-in store here at my work where the driver, we had a driver drive through into the store, full car into the store.
That was awesome.
Everything was okay. It was an accident. You know, that kind of things happen. She actually came to the store. Her and her husband came to the store this week and brought us cookies. So I'm encouraging anyone who wants to drive right to the store and then later bring us cookies, I'm all for it.
Good deal. Yeah, that's almost worth it. Plus, heck, it wasn't your store.
Well, I mean,
granted, she almost killed you, but still. I mean, cookies.
Yeah, cookies. She brought, have you ever had chocolate sugar cookies?
Sounds delish.
Yeah, you're going to have, like, normal sugar cookies, meh, right? Not really my thing.
Yeah.
Chocolate sugar cookies, even though they were 160 calories per cookie. Yeah.
How did you know the calorie count?
I obviously am not much of a calorie watching guy, but even I was like, wow, that's a lot of calories.
Now, wait a minute. How did you know the calories? Weren't these homemade cookies?
They were prepackaged.
So
cookies,
she bought you cookies.
Yeah.
Now, that's less interesting.
Well,
I thought she made
Aaron,
these cookies.
Would you eat cookies from a woman that just drove through your store? I mean,
you got a point there. I never thought of it that way. You might find chips of broken glass in there, or she might put celery in there. Who knows what's going to be in them cookies? You know,
in all fairness, she's a very sweet woman.
Yeah,
and we had a few laughs and talked for a while, so it was a good time.
And
next on the agenda,
she'll be appearing at the demolition derby when the state fair rolls back around.
That's it. So next thing we need to talk about real quick is the Dragon's Lair Mini giveaway. We need a graphic for this. I'm going to work on that.
Start looking like a dragon real quick. There you go.
We have added 2 additional people to the wheel of prizes. For those that don't know, we are going to spin a 12-slotted wheel, give away 3 prizes. The second runner-up prize is a ARG lanyard. The first runner-up prize is a quarter slot keychain, and the main big super prize is a Dragon's Lair Mini, fully functional, from New Wave, brand new in box. It's incredibly awesome. I have one myself. I play it all the time. I have it set on my computer desk so I can, like, whenever a game's loading or in between transitions or travel or something, I can just turn it on, play it for a little bit. Awesome. Plus, it looks awesome. But the 2 people we added to the wheel, the winner for the ARG Presents Twitch follower was La Masta.
Okay.
La Masta.
All right. I'll let you go say Lambada. That would have been much more interesting. The Forbidden Dance is your winner.
And the email piece suggestion, the randomly selected winner from that was Olaf Hope.
I've heard of him. Congratulations. So they're qualified to be on the wheel of prizes.
That's correct. That is correct. Next week, just so everyone knows, we are going to be choosing a live Twitch watcher in chat and a Twitter follower. So if you are looking to get on that wheel of prizes, you can either show up tomorrow or show up next week, be in chat. We film live at 10 a.m. EST, or is it EDT?
It's EST, man. Eastern Standard Time, yeah.
And, well, I don't know if it was
I'm not sure you're
daylight or not.
qualified to operate the wheel of prizes. Now that I listen to you, how many of those cookies did you eat?
Quite a few. They were delicious, strangely delicious.
Now,
and you could just be in chat, and we're gonna be picking one from that, or don't feel restricted to just one. Follow the Twitter, ARG Presents Twitter, run by yours truly. Don't worry, I don't spam your feed. I mainly post about the upcoming shows, and also you'll get the Twitter insight,
man.
for which occasionally I will drop little bits of knowledge only for the Twitter fans.
Now, why don't you tell everyone? I'll tell them, if you are interested in joining up with the Twitch chat, the address is twitch.tv/ARG or /Amigos Retro Gaming. That's twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming.
Yes.
That will get you here. And Brent, your Twitter again is what?
ARG Presents.
There you go, all one word. So there
That's
you
correct.
go. That'll get you in. Easy money. Get qualified very simply. I will say, the response to our contest this week was very nice. Last week was nice too. We got tons and tons of comments, and we also got tons and tons of people sending us pie piece ideas. We're loaded.
Yes.
We're locked, stocked, and ready to rock, and we got tons of great ideas. Crap I'd never thought of in a million years from everyone. So when we do the wheel, we'll make sure to acknowledge who sent that in. So even if you didn't get qualified via your pie piece idea, you still contributed greatly to the show, because Brent and me are devoid of ideas. We have nothing going on.
After 150 episodes, it kind of runs dry.
If you could see the huge bag of pie pieces I've got here in front of me, I looked through these things. It was almost sickening to think that we'd looked at every single one of these. I was like, oh my God. So
it's a strange feeling.
So the Brent will be printing up newbies, I hope, this week.
Yes, and if anyone's like, "Oh crap, I have ideas for pie piece or for wheel pieces. I want to get that in there." Email us at argpresents@mail.com.
Yeah.
Give us a suggestion.
Or if you want to badmouth the Brent, that's also allowed. I fully encourage
if you just
that.
want to say, like, man, that Aaron guy, he sure sucks. Put it on in.
Enough of that. Let's move down the line, Brent. Enough of this contest baloney. Let's get to it. So, Brent, this week we spun the wheel. We made the deal. And this week we're going to be looking at, oh boy, here we go. Funny games, Brent. They're funny. They're so funny. Now, I'm going to go on record here early in the show. I had chosen a game early in the week. In fact, I chose it last Sunday. It was called A Fork in the Tail. It was a full motion video game released for the PC in '97, starring the voice of Rob Schneider. So you know it's good. And this game had a rep for being straight up garbage. It was going to be hilarious. The problem is I couldn't get it to work. Even on my vintage DOS machine with Windows, it didn't run right. So I had to make a quick switch. So if anyone saw that I was playing A Fork in the Tail, that's one of the rare times where it didn't happen, Brent. We had to pick a new one, but pick a new one we did. We'll get to that in a moment. But before we got into it too deeply, the Brent, I thought we would have a quick discussion here about funny games that we'd come across in our travels over the years. Are there any games that jump out to you as being particularly funny that you enjoyed or didn't enjoy?
Yes. In fact, my all-time favorite funny game is Poker Night on Steam. There's actually two of them where voices from different shows, for example, Sam and Max, or Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead, or Brock from Venture Brothers, you just sit around and play poker. And while you're playing different types of poker, they just make quips and tell stories, and it is absolutely hilarious. I love both versions of the game, and I was going to pick that.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know what? If I do that, Aaron's going to kill me. So I picked a game that you're definitely going to kill me over.
Well,
but
we'll get into your game choice here in a minute.
Here's the thing with funny games, right?
Yeah.
It's very subjective. What I think is funny might not be what you think is funny. And a lot of funny games, you know, there's a lot of indie games out there that are hilarious, right?
Yeah.
But they're funny for the first time, or you know, they're funny until you see the joke. So it's hard to pick a game that is consistently funny for me, because even after you hear all the stories on the poker game, they eventually do start repeating, and when you hear it for the second time, obviously it's not as funny. But the thing there is, there are, you know, hours and hours of dialogue. So you go for a long, long time before you start hearing repeats.
Well, when I think of the funny stuff, all right, and I'll be honest with you, I don't necessarily like funny games that much. So it's not like I couldn't wait to pick one. But I did think of a few, and I almost picked a couple of these. There was a game out, I believe I played this thing on the PlayStation called Psychonauts. I thought it was pretty funny if you remember that.
I love Psychonauts.
It was a pretty big deal back in the day. It was pretty funny.
It is a funny game, yeah.
I think a game like I think there are games that are funny just because of what happens in them. Stuff like Worms comes to mind, where it's a funny game, but also it's funny to watch your buddy get mauled. You know. There are plenty of like point and click games that I'd say were in that line.
Absolutely.
I would say like Monkey Island comes to mind. That's probably one of the, in terms of being actually funny, that's a fun game that's actually amusing. Like written by people that had talent in the realm of comedy. You
that's
know,
correct. I agree.
So both of those I think are pretty good. Also, like me and the boy got this game, and I'd heard about it, and the boy asked me to get it for him. It's called Goat Simulator. That's
Yep.
In fact, there it is on the screen if you're watching at home.
It is. It's funny by absurdity.
Oh yeah, but that's the kind of crap I like.
Well, you know, another game, Aaron, that can be funny if you want it to be funny is the Scribblenauts series.
Oh
where
yeah,
you choose
what
solves the problem.
Yeah, that's a good game too. How clever is that? I always thought that was a real clever game.
It's incredible.
Another one that comes to mind is that WarioWare series. You know, is that the one where it's just randomly, it's just real crazy, like mini games,
like 4-second games?
Yeah, those. Yep. Some of those are real funny and wacky. You know,
agreed.
So that's another one that I enjoy. So you've got to there are games out there that are funny. The ones that are tough, tough to get over, are where they're trying to be comedic. I find those more difficult to enjoy. Something like a Beavis and Butthead or South Park or something. You go in knowing it's funny time, and then they've got to deliver the ha-ha. Simpsons, like you played a couple weeks ago, is another one you could put on the list. But you have to be into that kind of comedy, and plus I think those are a little easier to do because there's a basis for the comedy. You know, everyone knows who Cartman is or Homer. You know, so you expect them to be wacky. You know, I would put those on the list, but it's funny, I didn't even consider playing any of those type of games, just because I didn't want to, I wanted to try something that sort of stood on its own. And so, of course, I had a feeling that Fork of the Tail would be bad, but it was supposed to be a completely comedic game. And so I'm going to revisit that one as soon as I can get it up and running. But so do you, when it comes to funny games, is this a genre that you're into, or do you just stumble across them occasionally?
No, I appreciate when a game adds humor.
Yeah.
But as for going out there and like looking to play funny games, it's not really my thing. I like a game that you can make funny, or there's a solid game there that is also funny. Scribblenauts really is a perfect example of that. That's a game that you can make funny if you're in the mood to be funny, or you can make it dark, or you can make it violent. That's my kind of funny.
Yeah.
I do appreciate, the LucasArts games. Full Throttle has some funny moments in it, some incredibly funny moments. Yeah. But those type
Sam
of games,
and Max,
those are so much watching, you're playing a story, and the story is funny. It's not necessarily the game that's
There's a
funny.
lot of good writing. Like we covered Indiana Jones a couple weeks ago on Amigos, and it's got some real good lines in it. It's a real funny game. I find the LucasArts games to be pretty amusing. Really, the point and click adventure genre, it gives you a lot of area there to be funny.
Absolutely.
Because not just the LucasArts stuff. There have been plenty. Simon the Sorcerer, that series, that was funny. There were a lot of good games and funny moments in them. But it's something when you make a game. No one expected Secret of Monkey Island to be solely based on humor. There was other adventure aspects to it, although it was more funny than most. It's hard to build a game almost exclusively on trying to be funny. And I would say neither one of the games we're playing are built on that, and probably most of the good games aren't. So there you go.
I would agree.
So, with all that being said, we were tasked with choosing 2 games that we thought were funny, or that were supposed to be funny. And we went ahead and did it. And I'll go ahead and lead the dance this week. So, as I mentioned previously, the game I initially chose, I couldn't get to work. So, I went down the road pretty quick. It didn't take me too long to switch over and picked a game that I had played in the past with the boy, no less. And I went ahead and picked, bam, it's Gex. Gex, the wacky lizard, like smart alecky lizard game.
You sure did, Aaron.
This was one of the flagship games on the 3DO when it was released. I did play the 3DO version. I actually own this thing somewhere. And this was, for a while, this was sort of the mascot for the 3DO before he branched out. And we'll get into that. So let's talk about Gex. Published and developed by an outfit called Crystal Dynamics Incorporated. It was released in 1995 for the 3DO. It got a PlayStation release. It was released on the PlayStation 3, the PSP, the Vita, the Saturn, and there was a Windows release for this as well. So you had a broad release range, but initially this was released as like one of the big titles on the 3DO. This game, the concept for this game, and the producer of the game was a guy named Lyle Hall. This guy's done a zillion games, but the games he actually brought the concept to fruition were that Scooby-Doo, Night of 1,000 Frights, 3D Baseball, and then a game I played just the other night, RoboCop versus Terminator. He also was behind Dune 2 to a certain degree, so that was kind of an odd entry there. I was surprised to see that. So, Gex, as I mentioned, if you're familiar with the 3DO, when this thing came out, it was a pretty ballyhooed system. Do you remember much about 3DO when it came out of the gates, Brent? Were you too young to remember
flash
that?
In the pan.
Yeah.
It was here and it was gone.
So, well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, it had a pretty solid following for a little while, but ultimately they couldn't get the support of third-party game makers and stuff, and it sort of sunk them a little bit. But they had their own problems. Plus, they were talking about building. This was a system where they licensed out the system to sell, but other people would sell it. Panasonic and other people. So they had an interesting model. But what they needed was some cool games, and Gex was going to be their cool guy game. In fact, the whole concept of Gex, when they originally planned it, was to have a cool game. That was what they wanted. They want a cool game with a cool character, a cool guy for the 90s. And so they went to work. Gex was voiced by a comedian named Dana Gould, and you play as Gex is sucked into his television by his evil adversary, and he has to go through a series of television-based genre worlds to get out. That's effectively the plot. This thing was in production for quite a while. They started working on it in '93. It was intended to be released in '94, but they ran into a lot of trouble. This game they overthought what they were going to do, because this is the first time that they'd programmed for the 3DO, and so they thought that it wouldn't be as hard as it was. It turns out It was a lot harder to develop for the 3DO because they had been used to doing stuff with the 16 bits, and so when they moved on to the 32 bits, they started having trouble. They were also developing 2 other 3DO games at the same time, which were Crash and Burn and Total Eclipse, which I own Total Eclipse as well. and these were not nearly as they didn't consume as many resources as Gex because they didn't aim as high as Gex. And the Crystal Dynamics didn't understand that you needed to add more people to the Gex team to get it done because it was more of an expansive title, and so they just didn't do it. And so,
Right.
and basically, a lot of people worked on this because they would stick in whoever they had some time to kill, basically. And so, it has a lot of stuff that got left on the cutting room floor. There's an entire level that got moved into a secret level and snuck in. There's a lot of stuff that got snuck in by the people that made this game because they didn't want their work to get wasted. So it's just a real I was reading how this thing came to pass. It's the darndest thing I've ever seen. They had a secret team that worked on Gex that did all the extended credit scenes, a bunch of photos that are in it, a bunch of crazy stuff. One of the stages in it was designed by a guy, a fellow named Core, and they edited it without his permission. And because he had asked for the level to be debugged, and they were running so far behind, they were just like, screw it. We're not going to debug it. We're just going to remove it. And he'd been working on it forever. And so he left a hidden message in one of the levels that teach the players a cheat code to get to his game stage, right? And then he tells them basically how to do it, how to play it. So he left it in there, despite the fact that it was supposed to be taken out, And by the way, once this got found by the playtester, that guy was fired. So
yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, well, sometimes you can get away with it. He couldn't get away with it, unfortunately. So let's talk about what is Gex. As I mentioned, Gex is a little lizard that walks around, and all he does is basically make smart aleck comments and during the gameplay. That's sort of the comedy part. And plus, all the worlds, as I mentioned, were basically takeoffs on like TV genres and whatnot. Gex, the platformer Gex is a really cool character in terms of his abilities. I'm not going to get into how cool he is as a character, but he can since he can stick to walls, he can walk upside down on walls. He can walk like on ceilings. He can go about anywhere. He's also got the ability on some sections of the game to like jump into the background and walk flat on the background, which is really cool. It reminds me a little bit of those sections in Mario where he jumps on a fence, and you can kind of see his back and his front. And Gex still has his full range of attacks and stuff while he's like that. It's really neat. As you go through the game, Gex can use his tail to whip stuff. He can also use his tongue to grab power-ups. This game has an interesting power-up system. You'll see these little balls floating around, and they'll be labeled. And the balls will give him different powers. Like sometimes he'll get like electricity powers. Sometimes he'll get these other kind of crazy powers. But you can also just tail whip the balls and just get extra health. So you get to sort of make a choice how you want to use the power up, because sometimes you might not want the power up on offer. So you just tail whip it. He also goes through and collects these like golden bugs or golden crickets he can use to get an extra life. It's not like they didn't reinvent the wheel with the actual levels, but they did sort of reinvent the wheel in a lot of ways with the actual character. You really have to think in a different way when you play this game, because with the ability to walk in the ceilings and stuff, they make it so you have to Gex can wedge himself into places you wouldn't normally think you can go. He's also got a bit where he can jump like a spring on his tail and come down, sort of like when Mario gets heavy and smashes stuff with his rump. The Gex can do that. Listen, let's not lie to ourselves. Gex and Mario have a lot of similarities. Let's just put it that way.
Similar moves.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, they do spice it up quite a bit. Along the way, the levels, they are not, I wouldn't say they're entirely different, but they do a decent job of mixing it up, I think. For the first level you go to is like a world of like horror movies. And so you're going through graveyards and crypts and stuff like that, and you're fighting zombies. There's one character that comes at you. He looks like Jason from Friday the 13th, but he's got a Freddy claw, and he comes at you, which is pretty funny. There are other worlds in this aside from the first one. You've got the cemetery world. That's the opening world. Then you've got New Toon Land. That's sort of like a Looney Tunes based world that consists of 5 levels. Then you've got Jungle Island. That's sort of like an Indiana Jones type world where like jungles and stuff. Then you've got Kung Fu-ville. That's like a send up on old karate movies. You know, again, some of these you can like Kung Fu-ville is a good example. Yeah, there's like it's the scenery and stuff is karate movie stuff, but I mean it's mostly the same sort of gameplay. It's just that
it's all platform.
Yeah, you know how it goes. Then you've got Resopolis. That's the last world. That's where you go to try to get to the final guy. And then if you beat that world, like the hidden world is Planet X, which is like a knockoff on Sci-Fi. That's the world that you normally wouldn't be able to get to, but you can get there if you collect these certain amount of remotes. Now, when you go to these levels, you're not just trying to get to the end of the level. I mean, you are, but you're not. Hidden in each level is a remote control you've got to find. And you need to have this remote control to finish that section of that entire level to move on to the next one. You've got every world's got one. So if you buzz through these real quick but don't find those remotes, then you are left out in the cold. I mean, you'll have to go back and do it again, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's in some ways this almost has that European feel to it when it comes to that element of the game, having to redo a level because of that. Something else you'll find, every level has like a secret area that you can go to.
Several.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, there's one major secret area that's like a bonus area you can go to. There's also, you'll occasionally find like these bonus remotes, and if you get all of those, that's when you can get to that secret world that we were talking about. Sound on this is good. The music on this is great. I like the way it sounds. The Gecko makes a lot of smart comments. He quotes a lot of movies. He'll quote Scarface or Terminator. He'll make fun of people. I heard him say, this is worse than being Mike Tyson's roommate on Valentine's Day at the prison. He'll say some controversial stuff. He badmouthed Grace Jones at one point.
He curses as well.
I never heard him straight up curse.
Yeah, he does.
What'd he say?
I'm not going to say it on the show, but he does.
I never heard him curse. I have heard him say some interesting things. But when they put him together, man, just think the 90s and what was hot, and he'll probably have some sort of quip about it. You know, and he has a quip before and after every level. If he gets killed, he's got a quip. He's got quips for everything. And I will say, they kept the quips where they don't get super repetitive. It's not like he's saying.
I don't agree with you there.
Well, I said super repetitive. I didn't say it wasn't slightly repetitive. It is super repetitive. As you go through these levels, you can save your progress. At certain points, some levels you only have one save point. Some have two. When I say save point, I mean there's a little camera. It looks like a Kodak Instamatic camera, and you'll click on it, and a flash bulb will go off. And if you die, you'll start there. So it's like a level flag. The 3DO version also lets you find videotapes, so when you find them, you can actually save your game at that point. The rest of the versions of this, Brent, from what I read, all you can do is use level codes, which I thought was interesting. So the 3DO does have the advantage there. This takes nice advantage of the 3DO's game controller. 3DO's got a pretty good controller. I like all the stuff that he can do. I mean, this guy has a lot of neat moves and a lot of unique levels. There's levels where you have to go straight up. Every level has a boss that you can fight. One level's got this awesome section where you go up the side of this cliff, and these holes in the cliff are this like demonic snake comes in and out. You have to avoid him. Get to the top of the level. That one's cool. There's one where you fight this in the cartoon level. The bad guy is called the Flatulator, and he goes over and he loads up on some kind of liquid, and then he basically farts his way around the level, and you've got to avoid him. And then when he flies, you're going to drop anvils on him. Pretty clever. I thought that was fun. I'd say that's decent humor that works. So ultimately, I think what you've got here is a wacky game with a lot of charm. But what makes this game go is that it's just a good game. Of all the platformers I've played, I'd say this is a very top shelf game in terms of its what you could do in the game and the fun you could have. It did get some sequels. At some point, in fact, I think they even got at least one of them made it onto the 3DO. A lot of the problem with this game is eventually the 3DO fell apart. And so they that was the end of that. They weren't making jack squat for the 3DO after that, and so they had to go out and branch out onto these other platforms. I don't know if this was ever supposed to have ultimately been a 3DO exclusive. I'm assuming not, since they released other games for other systems that early. But I mean, one would think that 3DO would have tried to have sewn this guy up, because he was sort of their ipso facto mascot for the longest time. What did you think of this one, Brent?
I played this on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And same game.
Yeah.
Just a bit refined in the graphics department. I think the levels in Gex are by far the shining achievement. The level design is a nice mix of exploration and challenge. Unfortunately, the controls in Gex are not good. They're overly complicated. Having to press down to do a tail attack and then press up and jump to bounce higher off of that is just no good. It's unfortunate that they could not nail down a decent feeling control scheme, because the game itself and the character outside of his quips, just his abilities, the walk on the background thing, the tail, the tongue, all that stuff makes sense and is fun. It's fun to use. It's fun to play. But the controls are so stiff, and they're overly complicated. There's a button to run, a button to jump, a button to tail swing, and a button for your tongue attack. And the combination of all that stuff, and then they throw in, like I said, down to do a tail attack downward, and then you have to bounce up while holding up in the jump button to bounce off of enemies to get higher. It's not needed. It's not needed. They could have simplified that a ton. The tail attack down should have been automatic. There shouldn't have been a run button. It was just unnecessary. Also, the camera in this will not cooperate a lot of the time. It tries to, since the game allows you to traverse back and forth in the level being left and right, the camera tries to swing so you have stage in front of you if you're moving either direction. So the camera actually slides over, and instead of you being on always on the left part of the screen, it will slide over to put you on the right part of the screen. Unfortunately, any little tap on the controller, just like you're lining up for a jump, will swing the camera in the other direction, which means that then you have to tap the other way to get it to swing back. And it's unfortunate because it makes some things much harder than they needed to be. For the humor aspect of this game, the quips repeat pretty quickly. And he has quips depending on what level they are, so you do get fresh material every now and again.
Yeah.
But the game's not easy due to the controls and the camera, so you are going to be playing some of the earlier level, all the levels, multiple times. Plus, you have to explore to find the remote. Some levels, it's not that hard. It's pretty straightforward. And some levels, you have to actually kind of look for stuff. And because of that, you hear the quips over and over and over. And some of them are so pop culture that if you don't get it, you just don't get it. It tries a lot of different types of jokes, some which work, some which don't. I was really surprised he was as crude as he was, because it bumped this up to, it was a teen and above game. Which that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But this is a game that you could have sat your 9-year-old down with, and he would have probably had a good time because it's a lizard and he gets to climb and do all this stuff. But instead, they had to make him hip and cool, which bumped the age rating unnecessarily, in my opinion.
Well, you got to think, this is the age of Crash Bandicoot and all that.
Well, this is the quips are very Busby like.
I played this with Luke. In fact, the footage we're watching is what me and him shot for the Luke show back in 2017. So I think you could set your kid in front of this and not worry too much. And it's funny, one of the things is some of the stuff's hard to understand what Gex is saying. It's always thought that was odd.
Yeah.
It's funny. We had different experiences with this, and I wonder if it was just something with the PlayStation. I didn't have any problems with the camera at all. It never even occurred to me. And I got the controls pretty quick. I really had trouble with that at all. I mean,
you didn't think the controls were stiff?
No, not a bit. I thought it played quite well.
I thought they were incredibly stiff
on the 3DO.
I felt like jumping on enemies, which should be just it's a basic thing, a basic video game thing, was overly complicated.
Well,
it was overly complicated to have to pull down and get the tail attack out, and you had to be so precise on top of the enemies. It was unnecessary. So that's my opinion on it.
I think you have to get used to. I think you have to get used to the controls.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
I did, and I mean, listen, you've got to get used to moving in those different odd ways too, And so,
I had no problem with that. So that's biggest problem. My biggest problem was to bounce off enemies after the tail attack, after the spring attack, and just being able to land on enemies in general.
Part of it might be I didn't land on enemies that much. Most of what I did was the tail whip. I was mostly what I did. I didn't actually jump on them that much. So it could just be a different play style as well. Well, I will say this. This became the one of, if not the best-selling game on the 3DO. No one knows for sure, but most people will agree this sold well over 1 million units on the 3DO. And was a huge deal back when it came out. So this was like their big title. When you think 3DO, what's the first game that comes to your mind? Is it this?
No, you know what? I don't think I would think of anything.
This is the first thing that comes to my mind with the 3DO. The second thing that comes to my mind is Star Control 2. So those are the first two games that come to mind. Having a 3DO and going through the library, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some good 3DO games. Their Doom is good as well, but I think this is probably one of the best ones. Critically, this game was very heralded, well said. They said GamePro gave this 5 out of 5. Video Games and Computer Entertainment
that's ridiculous.
Gave it 10 out of 10. Game Fan Magazine gave this a 92%. Coming Soon Magazine 4.5 out of 5. CVG gave this an 80. Video Games gave it an 80. Electronic Playground gave it a 6 out of 10. So for the most part, it was very popular. EGM called this Game of the Month in June of '95, and Game Fan in late '94, their late '94 edition, which must have shipped in '95, called this the best 3DO action platform game of the year. So this game was very well received. Again, I'm surprised you didn't like it that much, because I mean, I think this
No. I didn't say I didn't like the game. I didn't like the humor. I thought the humor got a little stale. It wasn't horrible.
Yeah. You've got to think of the time this was released, and you also got to think, like, this game graphically was way ahead of the curve when it came out. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I agree. The graphics are fine.
And I like it's also you've got they did a good job with a 2D platformer with that gives you sort of a faux 3D effect with him on that back wall, and it works.
I don't think that's that impressive.
I think it works. Like I said, I think this is the one that I would go out and play. Come for the game, stay for some of the wacky humor, which I think is okay.
Come for the game and then leave when the humor gets annoying.
No,
at least that's what I did.
I think Brent's being too hard on it.
Well, I think 10 out of 10 is I guess the check cleared. That's all I got to say about that.
Oh, I don't.
This is a solid 7 out of 10. You should probably, if you like platformers, you should probably give this a go. Maybe you won't have as much problem with the controls as I did, but
if you've got a 3DO,
saying this game was perfection is ridiculous.
Well, like I said, if you've got a 3DO, this is a must play. I will say I checked this out on the eBay to see how we were doing with the prices. This game comes in about 27 different boxes. They've got a long box. They've got a short box. They've got a jewel case. I saw the prices fluctuating dramatically for going from $20 all the way up to $67 for like the long box. So your mileage may vary. Well, because those long boxes are getting rare.
On 3DO.
That's right, for the 3DO.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Okay,
I didn't look up prices for the PlayStation, so this is for the 3DO. But overall, think it's a great and fun game. So I would give this one a shot when you get a chance. So, with all that said, Brent, you were tasked with finding, and I want to stress this, a funny game. Funny game. Through the universe of funny games, Brent, all the hilarity that has ensued over the years, tell the people, oh, by the way, we got no Discord reviews for that. Tell the people.
Well, yeah, you didn't tell people you were playing it.
Yeah, you're right. Tell the people what hilarious games that you have chosen this week.
I chose Battle Chess.
Battle Chess. That's the funny game you chose. That's the funny game you picked. From all the funny games, you picked chess. The least funny game ever. Chess.
What?
Chess is not funny.
Is hilarious.
Okay, go ahead. Convince me.
Huh? No, I don't have to convince you.
Oh, yeah, you do.
If you've played Battle Chess, you know that it's funny. It has tons of funny stuff. Battle Chess, of course, Interplay Productions. This was their first game that they developed and produced everything in-house. They were under the EA flag for a very long time. This was their breakout game, this and Neuromancer. It was released in 1988. First came out on the Amiga. It has been out on virtually every system you can ever think of. The Amiga, the 3DO, the Acorn Archimedes, which I was going to pick that for the version to play.
What happened?
I lamented.
You bought.
The Sega, the Amiga CD32, the Amiga CD TV, the Apple II GS, Apple IIe, Atari ST, Commodore 64, DOS, FM Towns, NES, Mac OS, NEC, PC 9801, the 68,000, Windows. It were literally everything had a copy of this. And I don't even think that's everything. I believe it came out on more things.
You should have played the FM Towns version, Brent.
No, I shouldn't. Oh, God, please don't ever make me emulate that again. What is Battle Chess? Battle Chess is chess where you instead of having normal, pieces that you would just move around the board, it is a fully animated pieces that actually walk to their position. And when you capture another piece, there's a battle scene between the two pieces. Outside of that, it is strictly chess. It has all the rules of chess. You can't control the battles. They're all scripted animations, depending on what piece is taking what. And it is a game where you took a very simple concept of chess and you made it appeal to the masses by having these animated features. And it was so clever when whoever thought of this, and I will actually give the proper props. Designers were Michael Quarles, Jayesh Patel, and Troy Worrell. Brilliant. It was brilliant. It is so simple. You take a game as timeless as chess and you bring in a new audience by having these pieces battle each other whenever you capture them. And just some of them are brutal and some of them are absolutely hilarious. My personal favorite is when a rook takes a queen. The rook will just eat the queen.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Just pick her up, open up his gullet, because he's a big rock castle in this game, and just absolutely just devour her.
He looks like the Thing, sort of.
A couple other ones. You got knights will kick, pawns will kick knights low. Just all these hilarious animations. And even pulls from pop culture. You've got the Monty Python and the Holy Grail scene where two knights will and he'll cut off an arm, cut off another arm, cut off a leg, and then eventually cut off the other leg, and the torso will just kind of be sitting there squirming around. You've got callbacks to Indiana Jones, where the bishop, whenever a king takes a bishop, the bishop will be doing all this crazy stuff, and then the king will just pull out a gun and shoot him. It's a perfect mix of callbacks and new ideas that makes it really fun and entertaining to watch. Also, this is one of the only ways that it makes sense to watch someone play chess. I mean, actually, I enjoy watching people play chess, but that's not really what we're going for here.
No.
It's fun to watch the animations and the fights take place. Also, this has a very funny part of development that you might not know, Aaron. So I want to go over just a little bit.
All right.
As you know, most games, when you have you're a developer and you're making these games, right? You know that you have to get it past your publishers, and you have to present it to them. And publishers want to have, or producers, I'm sorry, producers want to have their little touch on the game, right? So they can say they made it better, basically justifying their job. And the developers for Battle Chess back on the Amiga knew this, right? So they did a thing where all of the Battle Chess is exactly as you see it. They had all of it just as it came to market, but they added a duck, a little sprite-based duck to the queen. And all it did was follow the queen around. It was part of her piece. And they put it in there specifically so that the producers would see it, and instead of trying to make them change animations or, change how characters look, they looked at that duck and said, listen, we love the game, but the duck's got to go. And the guy was like, oh, okay, I'll get rid of the duck. Little did the publishers or the producers know at the time, but the duck was just like one code, and the duck would be boof, completely out of the game. He put it in just so he could take it out because he knew that he wanted the publisher or the producers to have something that they can complain about without having to actually change the rest of the game. Very brilliant, by the way. Very brilliant.
That is good.
This game sold fantastically for a chess game. When it was first released across multiple systems, 250,000 copies were sold. It was one of those things where they were hoping to make a little bit of money, and they made a lot of money. The reviews for this were off the charts for the most part, ranging in the high 80s, all the way up to 9 out of 10 on the Amiga version. The only version that got kind of killed was the 3DO version. People thought it was too slow. And it has also bore many sequels and many spin-offs, but official sequels had one even released as late as 2015. And holy cow, if you're a Battle Chess fan and you haven't seen the 2015 release, you can get it on Steam as well as other platforms, I'm sure. But the animations and the upgrades are fantastic. When a queen or when a knight takes a queen, they have a dance off, right? And it's just awesome animation and this nice fluid stuff. And then the queen runs over and they're doing like a ballroom dance section, and the knight just breaks her neck. Just real quick, just so fluid. It is the same style, the same humor as the original Battle Chess, with updated graphics and updated animations. The castle, unfortunately, is no longer a big rock monster. Instead, they made him a big fat guy, which I'm a little disappointed about, but overall I'm okay with because he's pretty funny too. Excellent game. Highly recommend if you are going to play Battle Chess and you're wanting to look for the next version of it. The 2015 release is absolutely fantastic. Aaron, what did you think of Battle Chess?
When I think of this game, I have vivid memories of my buddy who had gotten an Amiga 500, and he was playing this on there, and he thought it was great. He was a big chess guy. Him and his other roommate would play chess on it a lot. It is chess with some cool animations. I will say it did have no modem support. It had network support, which that was pretty unheard of I don't know if there was any other chess games that did that back in the day. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, in fact, the AI for the chess, they had programmed in 30,000 starting moves, which in chess if you don't know, and I'm not a genius about it by any means, but there are
You?
certain aspects that you have an opening in chess, and they're actually named. They're things that you expect to see. And the Amiga version had a ton of those programmed in so that the AI wouldn't get behind early. Because in chess, if you get behind early, it's tough to come back. And then after that, the AI kind of took over and thought strategically about its moves. But it was a really good chess system. Some people said, "Oh no, this chess system stinks." I highly disagree. Uh, it, I've seen comparisons between the Amiga's chess AI and modern chess AIs, and it does well. It doesn't win, but it can often draw games, which is pretty impressive for a game from 1988. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aaron. What were you saying?
Well, here I'm gonna specifically talk about the Amiga version here because I've got the most experience with that one. When we used to get this, there were several things about this that I didn't like. Okay, one, it is brain drainingly slow. The guys wander around the field like they are double slow. Okay, they are super slow to move. Then every time there's a conflict, you would hear that noise, and here come the disk access. It's loading this animation up because effectively you're just watching little pre-rendered animations. It's not Archon where you can actually control the guys and fight. You're just watching little videos almost, little pre-rendered bits. But it then, once they staggered into position, then they did their little do-si-do in the square to get in the proper position for the demo thing to load. Then the disk access started. Then the little animation would occur. It'd be about 3 or 4 seconds. And then the guy would do his little do-si-do in the thing. There'd be more loading, and then you'd turn around. When it was the computer's turn to play, you would have that little thinking man icon on the screen forever, waiting for the sucker to move. I remember, as I recall, there was a force move thing you could do to make it move because you'd be there for a week. It took forever for this guy to figure out what he was going to do. This game was mega slow. And I remember it being so slow that to play an actual game of chess, and it didn't take too long after we'd picked this up, we would just turn off the animated stuff and just play with chess pieces, which was an option. You didn't have to use the animated guys just to play a video game chess because they got so sick of waiting for the stuff to load. The loading on this was brutal. The slowness of it was brutal. Was it cool looking? Yes. Was it occasionally, for a fleeting few seconds, amusing? Yes. I will give you that. But what wasn't amusing was waiting 2 minutes for the 3 seconds of amusement. Fail. No.
No, I think you're being overly harsh. The loading on this was not great.
It's no. Brent, you haven't played it like I have.
Yes, I have.
This thing is slow. Well, your memory is hazy. It was slow. It was slow as heck.
Here's the thing, Aaron. Here's the thing with chess, right? There's plenty to do while you're waiting for it to load.
What?
If you aren't looking at the board and figuring out what you're going to do, then you're not playing chess. You're just moving pieces.
Listen,
so
don't give me this crap.
Will agree.
If you look at this as a game, you're saying that other games that are slow, that's what is the time while you're waiting for this to load? Is that when you contemplate life or something,
no,
or write the Great American Novel?
Do.
Come on,
I
man.
mean, Aaron, you're kidding me here. If you aren't okay, I will agree. The first, say, 6 moves, right, are pretty slow because you're getting your opening strategy. And yeah, you're still trying to counter what the other guy does, but it's you're moving pawns, you're moving knights, you're moving bishops, you're getting things in position. But once things actually get to where both sides are kind of set up to their opening, you should be looking at the board and going, okay, if I do this, he's probably going to do this, but I can force that, and that takes up. I had no problems. The only thing that annoyed me was the very first move the computer makes after you move a pawn takes too long because it usually takes about 2 minutes for it to make its very first opening move. That is the only time, because I played like 6 games of this, totally from beginning to end on multiple difficulty levels. Now, if you crank the AI up to like level 10, it goes from level 1 to level 10, and then there's a novice setting. I typically played at 1 or 2 or novice. If you crank it up to 10, yes, the AI overthinks everything. It is incredibly slow. I'm not good enough to play at 10. I'm a level 1 or 2 type of guy. But while it's loading or thinking, I'm sitting there looking at the board trying to figure out what I'm going to do. The animations is sort of a reward for doing good, or a consolation prize for doing bad, which I love about it. My absolute biggest complaint about the game is that the squares that the pieces are standing on are too small, and sometimes it is difficult to see diagonals if a piece is on a square or on the square behind it, if you have a bunch of pieces lined up. That's literally my only complaint about Battle Chess.
Listen, is Battle Chess a stone cold classic? Yes, it is, because it did something it was a big seller. It showed off the Amiga in a very good light, and eventually everything else looked pretty good. I believe the PC version of this even had that real sound stuff. You didn't even need a sound card.
Yes.
That was pretty
Correct.
cool, because I remember playing this on the PC. But listen, today, you go back and play this for about 10 minutes, and then you're gone, because it's too slow. Hold on a second. Give me a chance to talk. Give me a chance to talk before you butt in again with your propaganda, because that's all it is. Don't give me this crap. This is the time where you contemplate your move. Baloney. You contemplate your move in real chess regardless of the 20 hours of load time or the 50 hours of a guy getting in a position to hit the other guy. No one in their right mind would use this as their primary means of playing computer chess. It was a novelty. It was entertaining for the first couple times you did it, but then it was a novelty, and then ultimately, if you wanted to play chess on the computer, you would turn off all the animated stuff and just play straight up chess. I can forgive some of the stuff, the AI taking so long to move, because of the fact that it was a fairly complicated piece of kit working on an older machine. I can understand that. But at the end of the day, this is not one you're going to go back to and play chess on. It's just not. I don't recommend going back to play chess on it. You can go to YouTube and find a video of all the guys fighting and watch that, and you can be amused by it, and that's all you need to do. It comes to actually playing chess on it, not just no, but hell no.
I absolutely, fundamentally disagree.
No kidding.
Do I think that this is the number one grade A serious chess man's way of playing chess? No, of course not. But if you want to casually play chess, if you want to sit down and have a couple good games of chess, this is a good filler between entertainment and serious chess play. And I think that's exactly what it's supposed to be. I don't think slowness is a factor at all. At all. I really don't.
You're nuts.
Outside of, like I said, that opening move, or if you play at the tip-top difficulty, I don't see slowness being the problem at all.
I disagree. Because even if you load this like on a modern Amiga with WHD loads, it's still slow. It's been fundamentally baked into the game. You know,
Aaron, I honestly, when I was playing this, I never once, outside of the opening move, thought this is slow.
That's because you're slow.
Crazy.
This is the pace you move at in real life. You are the turtle man. For the rest of us, we don't have time to sit around and wait for the double do-si-do in the corner after we load for 10 minutes. It's not worth it.
Now, this is what I think. I think you just go in and play chess by moving pieces. I don't think you have any strategy. I don't think you have any foresight. And for that, you are just moving pieces, and then you want to see the animations. So all you do is position your pieces so you can take another piece.
Let me ask you a question.
I think that's what the difference is.
When you played this back in the day, did you ever purposely get two pieces together to see what happened?
Of course.
Enough said. That's it. You got anything else?
Yeah, if that is your closing
That's
argument,
my closing argument.
I'm 100% happy with that.
Don't act like I don't know how to play. I was on the chess team. I played chess, and I'm telling you, this is not the chess you're going to want to play.
I was ranked in chess back in the day.
I think you're still ranked. Move on. Did you get an eBay on this or anything?
This can be found for, dollars.
Yeah, it's pretty. I will say, did you ever play the sequels to this? The Chinese chess, I believe it was called.
Oh no, because I play chess to play chess.
I will say, I got that. I find that hard to believe. This thing did get ripped off too. I believe there was like a Star Wars version. I don't know if it was the same people that did it, I remember seeing a Star Wars version
there
of this.
was an actual rip-off version called Battle versus Chess that went to court because the name was too close. And they ended up having to change the name for the U.S. release to Check versus Mate.
Check versus Mate. That game sucks. That name's horrible.
Yeah, there's been obviously tons of these.
Yeah.
There's Star Wars versions. There's Terminator versions. And I personally think they missed an opportunity. I think this is a game that they could have released every 2 or 3 years with updated graphics and updated animations, and I think it would have sold well.
They could have updated the speed,
I really
too.
do.
If you're going to play a game like this, crank up Archon or Archon 2 Adapt, which is, I love Archon 2 Adapt.
That's completely different games.
Yeah, those games are fast-paced and fun. This one's not.
No, those games aren't chess. This is chess.
Yeah, exactly. All righty.
Well, there you go.
There you go. I think on that sour note, we will just get right onto the wheel. Nothing else need to be said. Bam. All right, Brent. Oh, by the way, that wasn't a funny game either. I forgot to mention that. All right, here we go.
The animation was hilarious.
No, it wasn't hilarious. This
the,
week, the
pawn cuts off the king's clothing.
The retro rewind.
He's all naked.
The retro
That's
rewind
funny.
this week is the Jupiter Ace, Brent, and we've added
Okay.
Bizarro Spin this week. You know what that means? I don't remember actually. Brent will tell us. Here we go. That's the spinning wheel grunt, and we have a winner. What do we got? Oh, this has got a big long name, so you know it's trouble. Game Boy Color versus Neo Geo Pocket Color. It's a versus episode, Brent.
Oh, gosh. Okay, Aaron, which one of those two would you like to take? I will leave it up to you, sir, since you've whined so much today.
Whined? Listen, you don't like being caught out in the carpet, do you? I will play. So I've got to pick Neo. I've got to pick Game Boy Color versus Neo Geo Pocket Color. I will be Neo Geo Pocket Color. By God, I will go out on a limb on this one and be Neo Geo Pocket Color. And I'll have to learn a lot about that system because I don't know much about it. So that'll be fun. So this is a versus episode. We're just gonna keep fighting some more next week. Then is that the way it's gonna go down?
It appears so.
This is a wacky one. This is another one of yours. So we'll see how it goes. I hope I just don't go out there and get massacred. So, but I mean, that would be fair since you got massacred this week. Brent, do you have any final parting thoughts before we take this to the house? You want to mention your contest one last time?
Well, it's not my contest. It's our
contest. Well, you're running the show in the contest.
Well, I know because. Okay, I'll keep that thought to myself. Next week we're going to be picking people out of live chat and Twitter followers. So be sure to show up next week and follow us on Twitter. Like I said, I'm not going to spam your Twitter to the nines. I usually just post show-related things and little extra tidbits. So
and Battle Chess highlights aplenty.
Oh, man, that'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be.
Oh.
Hey, thanks everybody for showing up today. We had a good crowd in the old chat room arena here. Real good crowd. We appreciate you guys popping in and checking us out. Again, we'll be back next week with this wacky piece, Game Boy Color versus Neo Geo Pocket Color. That'll be a one wacky episode right there, in my humble opinion. So, with all that said, have a nice, safe week, and for God's sakes, set aside time for Battle Chess. A lot of time.
Thanks for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed the show. Hello to our YouTube subscribers and our Twitch followers. A special thank you to Duncan Styles for our vector graphics and Bartbit for an amazing closing theme. Want to help keep ARG spinning for as little as $1 a month? You can do so at our new Patreon at patreon.com/ARG Presents. Just like these fine folks. Graham W. Vetke, Rollo, Olaf Hope, Anthony Jarvis, Terry Howard, Gary Heather, John Schaller, The Slow Norris, Frodo NL, Steve Rasmussen, Bernhard Lucas, Chris Folds, Mitsuyama, Jason Warnes, Rob Flack O'Hara, Andy Craig, Dave Velociraptor, Retroalgy, Hermsky, Raushi, John Dykeman, Jerry Dennington, Z9K9, and Mr. B. Don't want to explain another credit card bill? That's okay too. You can help us out by leaving us a positive review on Spotify or Apple iTunes. Have an idea for a wheel piece? Email it to us at argpresents@mail.com. We film live every Sunday, 10 a.m. EDT on Twitch. Hope to see you there.